Joining us now, Mike Noble, CEO and founder of Noble Predictive Insights and an Arizona pollster. Jessica Taylor, senior Senate and governor editor for Cook Political Report, and NBC's Vaughn Hilliard is back with us. I think this is Kamala Harris's third trip to Arizona talking about abortion, Vaughn. So what does that tell us about campaign strategy here?
Right. Clearly, they believe that she going to the state of Arizona and articulating the message on abortion reproductive rights is going to be critical in the November election. We saw this as an issue in the 2022 midterm elections when Democrat Katie Hobbs won the governor's race over Kari Lake in the state of Arizona. But this time around, there's also going to be a ballot measure in which Arizonans are going to be able to go and vote on making it a statute that abortion rights are protected in the state of Arizona. So Kamala Harris is going to be able to not only go and make the political one, but also the one about the policy and about the direct impact that Arizona voters can have when they go to the ballot box. And that is why you have seen the Biden campaign be very intentional about sending the vice president out to be the one to deliver that message.
And Mike, Donald Trump is talking about it, too. I want to play for you a little bit of what he said this weekend about abortion.
I believe in exceptions for the life of the mother, rape and incest. Some people do. I think most people do, actually, but some people don't. You have to go with your heart. But you have to also remember, you have to get elected.
You have to get elected, Mike. That's a pragmatic message now, right, from Donald Trump. He's been all over the place previously on abortion over the years. But polling suggests that's more likely, right, to resonate with those middle-of-the-road voters. Tell me what you're hearing in this debate over abortion.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question. Is that, Trump's position on abortion is like trying to nail Jello to the wall if you look at him historically. And so when you look at Arizona, though, is that, majority of Arizonans believe that abortion should be legal. I mean, we've tested this a ton over the last 2-3 years. We've polled Arizona more than anyone else in the country. And essentially, we've seen that, the Dems are hammering this issue, but also Trump's trying to make his way into this position because he cares about one thing most of all, and that's winning. And so you're seeing him kind of move on this issue. But it's a smart move because, frankly, to be pro-life is a minority position. And that's probably a very nice way to put it.
Beyond the presidency, Jessica, how much could abortion impact races in the state? That, of course, includes the Senate race where Republican Kari Lake has had to, let's say, clarify her stance on abortion.
I think Lake is someone that comes across as more of a true believer on abortion than Trump does. Some polling that we recently did here at the Cook Political Report showed Trump winning in the state of Arizona, but Ruben Gallego went leading the Senate race. And we recently shifted our rating from toss-up to lean Democrat, and I think it has to do a lot with Kari Lake and her campaign that she is running. And I think we saw across the board, not just in Arizona, but that voters were picking Democratic Senate candidates on the issue of abortion more so than it was factoring into their vote for president. I think ultimately when it comes down to it, this is very much still a winning issue for Senate Democrats, but a lot of voters still don't believe that, as you saw where President Trump was talking there, that, he's emphasizing exceptions. You look at sort of his wobbly positions on the issue before he ran for office and different things that I think that you look at Lake's past comments on abortion and the stances she took when she ran for governor, and I think that this absolutely is a liability for her as a candidate, among other things. Just she is such a well-defined candidate after her run for governor, and not in a good way. The voters have very strong opinions of her for or against, and this is a race that I think has slipped down. Republican pickup opportunity is still absolutely in the mix, but when I look at the overall Senate map, the National Republican Senatorial Committee has come in here with some joint ads and has reserved time, but we haven't seen the major super PACs reserve money here as they have in other Senate races.
Oh, that's really interesting. Vaughn, meantime, tell us about where we are with efforts to get abortion on the ballot. Abortion itself in Arizona.
There's going to be a little bit more than 300,000 signatures that are required to get that measure on the ballot. They have exceeded that at this point in terms of the signatures that they're going to be turning into the Secretary of State's office to look at. They're aiming at 700, 800,000 in order to just ensure the fact that it will in fact be on the ballot in November. And Jessica and Mike know this so well here, is that this is where Donald Trump and Kari Lake, they get into sort of this quagmire when you say, okay, we're going to send it back to the states. But then when suddenly the states go and make the decision to put something on the ballot, these individuals have a hard time directly answering that, because Kari Lake has staked out, well, maybe the 15-week abortion ban is more appropriate, but she's going to have to answer the question of whether she will go and vote in November as well for the measure that would codify abortion protection across the board in the state of Arizona. But also Donald Trump, when he goes and campaigns in Arizona, he's going to be facing the same questions that he's going to be facing in his home state of Florida, whether he's going to vote to codify abortion protections in the state of Florida. So, saying it's a state's right only gets you so far for these Republican politicians, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a true believer, I mean, Mike, you have to accept the reality that abortion access has won whenever it's been on the ballot. Is there any reason to believe it would be different in Arizona?
No, I mean, if you looked at places like Indiana or some of these other much redder states than Arizona, you've seen how it's played out. Especially when you look at Georgia, where the GOP had a pretty coordinated effort to slide in, where they thought, hey, 18 or 16-week ban would be kind of the sweet spot with voters. At the end of the day, voters didn't really care. I mean, when you put it pro-life versus pro-choice, the pro-choice wins out. So it's very much a losing issue for Republicans, and frankly, you can't see them run away fast enough from this issue. And it's a position also where Democrats are incredibly comfortable, and they've really got their messaging dialed in compared to the GOP. They're not only going through a bit of a reorganization period right now, there's really no top-down command. So you're seeing all these different positions, and they really can't get on the same page when it comes to this. So they try to change it and run away from this issue as fast as possible.
Jessica, you follow Senate races probably closer than anybody. Where are you watching, other than Arizona, where you think abortion could have an impact on the Senate race?
One interesting place is there could be a ballot measure in Montana. This is the most vulnerable Senate seat up, with Jon Tester defending a state where Trump won by 16 points. Could this help turn out some of the state's more libertarian-leaning voters? Because every place we have seen it on the ballot, as Mike mentioned, in Kansas and Ohio, it has gone that way. And then, again, Florida, how that impacts it. Nevada as well. It looks like that will be on the ballot in Nevada, another very key state that is crucial to deciding the Senate majority.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.